Start.
Well, Manish, today we are going to discuss an important point regarding writing or drafting a story. In class 9-10, particularly in 9-10, children, face difficulty in creating plot or budding the plot and giving a justified title. They know how to write a story. See, a story is not very difficult to write. They create the plot also, but sometimes they don't make the plot budding and justified. They get stuck to the story timeline. Sometimes they don't get the right plot, or even if they draft the plot, they don't give the justified title. So there are three important things, Manish, you can ask. Shweta, you can also ask that, sir, what are the three important elements of a story and how they are evaluated? Evaluated means how marking is done. You may ask Manish, how the draft of a story is being done and how marking is done. First of all, you ask, sir, how many marks questions are there in story writing?
Sir, how many marks is
It is a 10 marks draft. Understand? Out of 10 marks, the major marks goes to content, 4 marks. Then remains 6 marks. Out of 6 marks, 1 marks is for title of the story, justified title. And then for grammatical accuracy, it is 2.5 marks. And for fluency, 2 and 5 marks, 2.5 marks. That is 2.5 marks. Then altogether, this is 10 marks. Now you ask, sir, tell us one by one how we can create the plot, because the most important point is that when an outline is given, we don't actually know how to start the story. So what are the various ways we can start the story? Yes, let's go for that. First of all of you, Shweta and Swati, and you also, Manish, you ask that, sir, how to begin the story?
how to begin the story?
Okay, see, most important thing is that when you begin a story, always remember that you have to start with a very, fixed line. Like you can say, if you are writing about a surprising event or an eventful birthday of yours or any of your friend, you may start, it was early in a morning, or it was just early morning in a cloudy day, in a cloudy day. I was just sitting in my dining room. I just got a bell, ringing for 5 minutes. I couldn't, know what to do. When I went near the gate and opened the door, I just jumped out of joy. It was just a pleasant surprise. Ask why, sir?
Sir, why, sir?
Because I saw at the gate my two friends, one Raj, another Sweta. Both of them were holding, flowers in their hand, and there were some packets of, sweets, and they were just smiling. I couldn't understand why they were smiling. But to my great surprise, when I saw them, entering my house with all the beautiful gifts, I could guess it was perhaps my birthday. It was perhaps
Birthday.
my happiness knew no bounds. See, this is an important line. My happiness knew no bounds when I came to know that they had come to join me on my birthday. It was my 13th birthday. It was my
13th.
and perhaps I was not aware that they had planned along with my parents to celebrate my birthday at my house in a grand way. I was just stuck to a wonderful sight when I saw a number of decorative plants, a number of lightings all around my bedroom. I just thought it was a surprise. They had already made this and they just went out and knocked at the door to show that they were coming just now. But they had already planned. Before I could know anything, they had already made the planning, decoration, and all other things about my birthday celebration. It was really a pleasant surprise. I would never, forget that day. It was a wonderful day. It was a
Wonderful.
and then closing. That is what important. I could not thank God enough for the amazing birthday I was blessed with. I was then I was then made to realize that this was my best birthday I have ever celebrated. All this was only because of my friends and my parents. I could really understand how much my parents and my friends evaluated my presence, and they really made my birthday memorable. Birthday. Now,
Memorable.
this was one reason. Now, you ask, sir, this was one birthday or a small celebration, and Sir, how to create the plot? This is the biggest challenge for all the students. Sir, how to create, I mean, a plot, or how to make the budding of the plot, budding of the.
Plot.
See, in order to create a plot in the story, there are only three things that you have to do. One thing, that you just think of some, I mean, creative idea, some imaginative idea, with the opening line. Let us say if the opening line is that, while I was reading a novel, I was suddenly reminded of an event that took place yesterday. That took place
Yes.
before I could, I mean, remember what happened on the road yesterday. I was just surprised to find that there was a hue and cry. There was a noise at my door.
Door.
I couldn't believe what I saw. I saw three policemen, I mean, coming, and they were knocking at my door. I was surprised. Rather, I was panicked. Why these policemen have come to my house? When I went out and opened the door, I saw that my neighbor's son was there with these three policemen. They had brought that neighbor's son in their, I mean, ambulance. He was little bit injured on the road. He had gone with a bike, gone with a. Actually, I was surprised that a 13-year-old boy was allowed to drive a bike, despite the fact that he was not having any driving license. The policeman told me that this boy was riding a bike so fast he fell down on the road. But fortunately, these three policemen were there. They took him into the ambulance. They gave him first aid, and then they brought him to his parent. And by the time, they also called me and they said that, Rahul, look, your friend is so reckless in driving. How his parents allow him to drive? This is not, I mean, legal. If a student can be allowed to drive, it is the fault of the parent, fault of the.
Parent.
Then only that day I realized that we should never take a bike unless we complete 18 years of age and get a license. Further, we also thought that we should not, I mean, insist our parent to give us a bike unless we need it. Unless we, see, as a school going child, why should we drive a bike? It is always dangerous. It is always. So, the budding of the plot depends upon how much imaginative you are. If your imagination is in the right direction, you can bud the plot as you like. But if your imagination is not proper, you will stop to that budding of the plot. And second most important thing, to give a justified title. Tell me how to create a title. Is it only the plot that helps us to create a story, or is it the message that you are going to convey by the story? Which one is helpful?
So message conveys.
A message is very important. The lesson that you are going to teach. For example, in this case, when you saw the policeman, the message was that teenagers should never insist on driving a bike unless they complete 18 years of age. That means, driving without a license can be dangerous. Can be dangerous. So when you think of the message, always keep in mind, before creating a plot, always introduce one lesson, one teaching to the readers, that something which is very useful. For example, I just said the thing that you have written, pride goes before a fall. See the story, pride goes before a fall. I created this just now. I created that. Let me create a story with this message that whenever a person becomes proud, he is going to fall. He is going to. And that was the case of a peacock. A peacock happened to be in the pond every day. He used to swim in the pond and used to enjoy the pleasant morning. One day he was just, walking here and there near the pond. Surprisingly, he saw, a woman emerging from the water, and then the woman asked the peacock if he really wanted to change his fate. The peacock was surprised. He couldn't believe his eyes, what he saw. But after a little thought, he decided, yes, why not? Then the woman asked that if he really wanted a boon from her. He said, yes, of course, I want to become an eagle. She was surprised. Why does, an eagle, why does a peacock want to become an eagle? What is the need of that? Anyway, she granted his wish, but she told that you should never regret at whatever you have asked. The moment she changed the, peacock into the eagle, he flew into the sky. He always dreamed to fly over the sky and on the clouds, because he wanted to fly all at a height, all at a
Height.
While he was flying on the way very high into the sky, somebody shot at a gun and he got a stop, and he was just instantly killed. He fell down on the ground. The woman was again there. She was, I mean, an amazing lady. She had some power, I mean, spiritual power. She saw the eagle again falling with all the blood and, I mean, flesh. She came and she revived him. She made him alive again and asked if he really wanted to become an eagle once again. The peacock said, "No, I would rather want to be a peacock only, because there is nothing wrong in becoming a peacock rather than flying into high." Then this story teaches us a lesson that we should never be proud of having anything which is unimaginable. We should never desire to have something which is beyond our capability, beyond our, because it can be dangerous. It's better to have something satisfactory, as it is really said that contentment is the best juice of life. Contentment is the, so the story teaches us that we should always be satisfied with whatever we have, whatever
We have.
so thank you very much, all of you. Kunal, we have now talked about how to create a story, how to body, I mean, plot, and how to give a justified title, including giving a message to the readers. Thanks a lot.